Hey there folks, welcome back to this Python Pygame series. We're building the Pipes game, or Flowy, or Water Flowy, or Pipe Flowy, or whatever you want to call it. A fun little game in Python. It had its challenges, but it's been a fun series so far, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've been able to stick to it this far, and have been able to follow along. Right, in the last video, I'm just going to bring this up on the board, the screen up onto the board quickly. I did tell it to run. Where are we? So Shift F10, run. Alright, if you remember the last video, we created it so that the water would flow from the starting pipe into the next pipe. Okay, what we need to actually do now is we need to then include the code within the pipe object, the piece, to determine which is the next cell, which would be this one here, and in which direction the water should be flowing in that cell. Okay, so we're going to go into our piece class piece, and in our piece class we were busy working on the update method. When we left off in the last video, we put in a call to the self.calculate next piece direction. We commented that out because it's not built yet. We're going to go ahead and build that method now quickly. So directly underneath my update method, we're going to define the method calculate next piece direction. Alright, we're not going to give it any arguments, we're just going to go straight into it. Okay, so there is a bit of code. This code for this method is fairly similar to the calculate direction we did in the starting piece. There is some small changes. I did set you guys a challenge in the last video to see if you could come up with it yourself, to see if you could get it working. I'd be very curious to know if you guys did. This is how I went about it. Alright, so once we calculated the next piece in direction, okay, once the water animation has reached the end, so we're at the last animation image of the water flow, right, we're then going to set our piece active to false. So now the piece is no longer active. That's the first step. The next step we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, well, new cell, and we're going to define a dictionary for this, for the new cell. And we're going to start off with, well, the keys are going to be an LR tuple, or TR, top right, or bottom right. Right? Remember, that was the tuple, the key in our dictionary. If it's left to the right, or top to the right, or bottom to the right pipes. Okay? Right, it's going to be within a list. First, we're going to have our self.row, self.col plus 1. Okay? We're going to sit with E right. Okay? That's our ending pipe. And then we're also going to check pieces. Okay? So we're going to include a nested list here. LR-RL, LT-TL, and then lastly LB-BL. Alright, so we've done a number of things here. So the first thing we're doing is we're checking within our keys, our dictionary keys, the tuples. So if our direction is let's say our direction is left to right, so LR, right? Then we're going to be checking, well, if we're going from left to right, the next cell that we need to be checking will be in the same row, but it will be in the column to the right. Okay. Then over here, I've included an E right. Now that is the name of our ending pipe piece to the right, meaning that the water will flow into the ending piece, the water flowing in a right direction. Okay. And the last item I have in here is another list which is included, which would be left to right, or -RL. So basically the regular pipe pieces themselves, accepting water coming in from the right hand side, which means if the water is coming in from the right hand side, the new piece will then be accepting it from the left. This will all make sense as we go into the doing the for loops as we did previously. So let me just go ahead quickly and finalize the rest of this dictionary, and then we can continue to do it. I'm actually just going to copy paste it quickly just to save you guys some time. Go ahead and pause the video so that you can make sure you capture all the details correctly. All right. I'm sure that should be enough time. You can just pause and copy and put that in your code as you go along. We just make that uniform. There we go. All right, once we've got that dictionary created, we're actually going to loop through the dictionary now. So we're going to say for flow direction in new cell dot keys. Okay, so basically for which one of these tuples, we're going to flow through there. If self dot direction is in flow direction, remember I discussed earlier to say, well, if our current piece's direction is in one of these tuples, right, then now we're going to refer to that tuple, the values of that key. Okay, so first we're going to come up with what is the row and column we need. So we're going to say new cell flow direction, then 0 because it's the row, index position 0, and then the column will be new cell flow direction, and then index position 1. Okay, then we're going to say, well, end piece. What would the end piece be? Is equal to new cell flow direction 2. Hang on. 2. Okay, flow direction index point 2, which is this one here. That would be what the ending piece would be if we needed it. And then next piece, if it's not the ending piece, the next piece would then be new cell flow direction 3. The next piece is then returning this list item. Okay. Now we're going to put in a couple of checks. All right. We're going to say, well, if self.game.grid row column is equal to the end piece, basically we've connected the pipe from start to finish, we're then going to say self.winState, which is a method we need to create. So I'm going to comment that out for now, and I'm just going to say, we're just going to put in print pipes complete. Okay. And we're going to return from that. All right. Otherwise, we're going to say if self.game, game.grid, the row column is in the next piece, right? It's in that list that we're returning from our dictionary. So if our self.game.grid, so if the next cell block that we're checking is in this next piece list, we are then going to self.update next piece row column. All right, and that's another method we need to create. So we're just quickly going to comment that out. We're going to say print. Let's go ahead and print the next piece. So let's print self.game.grid grid row, yeah, cool. And then we're going to return. Okay. Let's quickly go ahead and run this and see what happens. I think we should be able to run this without any issues. So there's our starting piece. We're going to include a left to right pipe. As the water flows, there's nothing in this extra piece. We actually need to put something in there to be able to test this. Let me put something in to test this. Okay, we can't use that. We can use that one. So there we've got this piece, and as you can see, it's printed out RT to TR, which is top to right. So there we go. It's already detected the bottom cell, the correct cell, and the water should have flowed across there. But we obviously have not updated this piece, the next piece, to allow for the animations. Let's go ahead and do that now quickly. Very simple, very straightforward. Directly underneath this method, we are going to define a new method. We're going to call it update next piece, right? And the arguments we're going to give it, as we did above, we're going to give it row, I'm going to give it the column. Okay. We're going to go self.game.pieces row column dot. All right. We want to then, in the next piece, calc flow direction, self.direction. All right. So if you can recall, when we did from the start piece to the pipe piece, to handle the transition from the starting piece to the next pipe piece, we actually then called the calc flow direction method. That basically went into the pipe piece and it calculated the flow of the water animation in the pipe piece itself, which then allowed the pipe piece to reflect the correct water animations. Being, say it's a horizontal pipe, the water could flow from left to right or from right to left. So once we've calculated water flow direction, in the next piece, we then need to go and say self.game.pieces. So basically we're referring to the same item in that pieces dictionary dot active. We are setting it. We are making that piece the active piece, which will then allow the water to flow on in that piece itself. So let's give this a run now quickly. This should work. Not that piece, not that piece. We'll put a vertical there, another vertical. Oh, we're too slow. Let's try it again. That was way too fast for us. There's our piece. Okay, we'll go with that one. Vertical, left. Oh, the water's not flowing through. Oh, we're missing something. All right. Just give me 1 sec. Sometimes I want to slap myself a bit. All right, so going back up to our update method, or our calculate next piece direction method, inside there, when we calculated self.end piece or if self.game.grid, we're actually not calling update the next piece method because we needed to create it. So I'm going to remove this now because we already know that that's working. Okay. And now we need to update the next piece. So let's run this code one more time. There's our starting piece. We've got a horizontal, put down that one, put down that one. Oh, we're not going to work. Too slow. Let's give it another try. There's our starting piece. Okay, we've got one. Oh, there we go. That's working perfectly. But we run out of time, but as you can see, the water flowed perfectly to the next pipe. Let's see if we can get it to go a little bit longer. Got that one. No, let's go that. Let's go that. That one. Either way, as you can see, the water is flowing along the pipes as we would require it to, or expect it to do. Great. All right. So what we basically have at the moment is a working pipes flowy game. I'm just going to adjust it, the timer that we have from 3 or 5 seconds to, let's make it 30 seconds, just so that we have a chance of actually reaching the ending piece to make sure that that's working correctly. Where do we call the timer the first time? Was it in the start piece? Timer, start time, start time. Starting time. I think the starting time was, there we go, start time. Let's turn that back to 30,000 and let's have the game run quickly. Okay, what we want to be able to do is quickly just make sure that we are able to actually complete, or what happens when we actually make it to the ending piece. Okay, now we just need to wait a few bits. Let's just delete those items. We don't need them. We'll wait for the water flow to commence. And if it works, basically, all we have left to do now is to start putting the finishing touches to the game. Well, there we go. Pipes complete. So the water's flowed from the start point to the ending point. That's fantastic. So we basically have a working game. All we need to do now is start including the buttons, the scores, the winning states, the fail states, and things like that. So yes, let's get started with that. Okay. All right, so I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our pub class, our piece class, and we're going to introduce or create the win state and fail state methods. I think that's a good place to start with these remaining remaining code that we still need to put into the game to do the finishing touches. Okay, so we're going to go down to below our update next piece method, and below that we're going to include a new method. We're going to call it win state. Win state. Right, we don't need to pass it an argument. And in our win state, we're going to go with self.game.stage clear. And that's going to be set to true. Now, in our self.game.stage clear, do we have that attribute? I think we do. Self.game.gameplay. No, we don't. So we'll come up and create those attributes as soon as we're done with these methods. Okay, self.game.stage clear. We set to true. We'll go to define fail state. Again, no arguments required. And we're going to go with self.game.game over. We're going to set that to true. And I think that's all we're going to need to do inside our pipe piece at the moment. Yes. Now we're going to go up to our main game. Our main gameplay, the gameplay class. Up in our gameplay class. Where are we? Are we almost there? Gameplay class. And we're going to make some changes to our attributes here. Okay, we have our start time. All right. Self.start time is equal to 30,000. We are going to, below that, we're going to give a new attribute, self.newGame be equal to true. Self.game over will be equal to false. Self.stage clear is equal to false. And self.stage will be equal to, is also equal to 0. All right. A couple of the items we need to add to our pub gameplay initialization method. We're going to have okay, so we've included our self.newGame attributes, game over attributes to our pub gameplay. We actually need to go up to our main game input methods. And at our main game input methods, right, if event.button is equal to 1, okay, so if event.type is equal to Pygame mouse button down, right there, we want to say, well, if not gameplay, self.gameplay stage clear, and not self.gameplay game over, and not self.gameplay new game. Right, we just need to increase the indentation of these if checks. So if event.type, then we do a check to make sure that we're not the stage has not been cleared, we're not in the game over state, and we're not in the new game state. All right. If that's the case, then we can perform like normal. Okay. So the next one, I think the next step we should take is we're going to include some buttons onto the screen. Okay, well, what the changes we've just done now is if I go, nothing's happening, I can't click anywhere. The reason why we can't click anywhere is because the gameplay new game is set to new game state. See, self.newGame is set to true. Let's just make that false for now quickly. And let's run this code. Right. If I'm running, there's that, put that file pub there. No, the pubs, because they are all the wrong ones. Oh my goodness, what a bad roll. Try that one, no, that one, yes, no, no, wrong pub, still wrong pub, again wrong pub, still the wrong one. Oh my goodness. That one, and we need the exact same one again. There. So once it reaches the end, the game state should be into game over state. So I should not be able to click, but I can. Why can't I still click? Okay, let's close that. Let me go down to our win state. Are we actually calling the win state? No, we're not. Where's my end piece? My pieces. Piece, class pieces. If not self, down here by update next piece. No. Yeah. In my calculate next piece direction, see over here, self.winState, we're not calling that method, so we're actually not changing the game state. Okay, we did print pubs complete, but we weren't calling that winState method. If we do this now again quickly, hopefully it runs a lot more smoothly this time. Let's put that one there. Fine. No, that's not going to work. That one there, sure. I need some verticals. Okay, that one will work. That one will work. I need another vertical. That one. Okay, so the water should flow through the pipes, and then the game should be set to an end state, which means I should not be able to click on the board anymore. What we're going to go ahead as well while we wait for this to work is we're going to include a ready button and a timer button. Piece object has no attribute win state. Self.win state. Oh, my spelling. My spelling is atrocious. That's a small s. Also, it should be, while we're looking at our piece, our part piece, if it's checking in the next piece is not the end piece or it's not a next piece, the game should actually be turned to should be registering as a fail state. So there we're going to return set a call to the method self.fail state. All right. So we're going to try this again now quickly. We're going to run the game. Again, these puffs, I'm just not getting a good starting position at all. Okay, we'll put that there, that one there, that one there, that one there. That's fine. That's good. That's good. That's good. But if we fail, that's not too much of a problem because we can still test it to see. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to include a button over here to say ready, because like now I've finished before the timer is over, so I can click ready and the water should be able to push through immediately. We also want to include a timer at the top. Okay, we've just hit the puffs complete, so we've just hit the win state. I should not be able to click anywhere. As you can see, no more puffs are being laid down. I cannot delete any puffs. In theory, what should then happen is then I should be able to, a pop-up should appear with the buttons that we can click for the next stage. So that's what the couple of things we're going to build now. A ready button, a timer, score as well, and a button to move on to the next stage. All right. So to do that, I'm going to go back up to my gameplay class. So I've got gameplay class. Before we go to gameplay class, we're going to create our buttons. Let's create a button class. So below my timer class, where's my timer? Right down the bottom, of course it is. The end piece, normal piece. the timer class. So directly below the timer class, we're going to define a new class, and we're going to call it button. Simple, straightforward, no frills, no fuss. Define an init method. Okay. And in that init method, actually, we need to pass it a couple of arguments. So we're going to give it the main game class. We need to pass it a text. We need to give it a width. We need to give the button a height, a font size. Then obviously an X position of the button and a Y position for that button. All right. So self.game is equal to game. Self.text is equal to text. Self.width is equal to the width, of course. Self.height is equal to the height. Self.font size is equal to font size. Self.xpos is equal to the x position. Self.ypos ypos is equal to the y position argument. Xpos, ypos. Okay. And then below that, we're going to go with self.font. So now we're going to define a font quickly. It's going to be pygame.font.sys font. I'm a big fan of stencil. You can obviously use a different font if you'd like. Self.font size, which is what we've already declared when we create the button. Okay. Now we've got that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create our image for the button, self.image, and that's going to be equal to a method which we're going to create, self.buttonGenerator. Okay. So let's quickly go ahead and define that method. Define button generator. Okay. Don't need to give it any arguments. Image is equal to pygame.surface self.width self.height. Right. Image.fill. We're going to fill it with gray color. Pygame.draw.rect. Image. A black border around the button. We're going to offset it inside the button by 2 by 2. Self.width -4, self.height -4. Okay, and then we give that rectangle a border of 1 width. And then we're going to say text is going to be equal to self.font.render self.text 1. We're going to make the text black. Okay. Once we've done that, we then want to get the rectangle. So create a rectangle for that button, or for the text at least, the text image. Rex is going to be text.getRect. And we're going to give it the center position of self.width divided by 2. Self.height divided by 2. Okay. Then we're going to, onto the image that we've created, we're going to split the text and the rect of that text. And we're just going to straightforward return that image. Okay. So we basically created a button image. All right. Go back up to my initialization method underneath my self.image. We've now generated that image. I'm going to go ahead and create self.rect, and that's going to be equal to self.image.getRect. And then the top left coordinates of that image for the button is going to be self.xpos minus self.image.getWidth divided by 2. Right. And then it will be in the top left. Oh, this whole thing is actually in brackets, so we just need to include brackets there like this. All right, and then it's going to be self.y pose minus self.image.get height divided by 2. Close bracket, close bracket. Let me just see where we are. 3 brackets, that's correct. All right, so that's our top left position of our button. That's initialized. Okay. Then there's 2 more methods that we want for these buttons. Underneath the button generator, we're going to create a method called define button action. All right. So we're going to say, well, if self.text is equal to ready, okay, for piece in self.game.pieces.values, right? So for each piece object, if piece.piece 0 is equal to s, so the starting piece. So we're going to find the starting piece. We're going to say piece.timer.deactivate. All right, now experience you for a minute. What are we doing now? In our starting piece, when the game starts up, our starting piece has a timer that's automatically activated. All right. When we hit the ready button, we want that piece, the starting piece's timer, to be deactivated so that the water starts flowing. That's what we're doing here. That's all we're doing. We're just looking for the starting piece object, and we're deactivating the timer in that piece. That is if we click on the button, which is the ready button. Okay. Further down in the same method, we're going to say, well, okay, well, if it's not if self.text is actually equal to next stage, well, then we're going to do self.game.reset game. And I think that's a method we still need to build. Self.game, it's in our gameplay logic. So let me just go after our gameplay logic very quickly. Are we in the gameplay? Okay, pipe gameplays. Reset game. We've got create game, we've got insert start pieces, verify start, verify end, draw, insert new piece, remove piece, update, draw. Okay, so obviously that's a method we need to come up and create, which we will do shortly. Okay, self.game.reset game, and then we're going to go self.game.stage clear will be set to false. All right. However, if the self.text is equal to game over, or self.text is equal to new game, right? We're going to go self.game.start time will be equal to 30,000, and self.game.reset game again. All right. But included still, we're going to go, well, if, no, that's for the score. We'll deal with the score shortly. Self.game.game over must be set to false, and self.game.new game must also be set to false. Okay. The last thing we need for our button class is a draw method. We're going to pass it the window. Right. We say window.blit self.image self.rect. Okay, so there's our button class created. Great. Now that we've built our button class, we're going to go ahead and call or create those button objects in our gameplay, the gameplay logic, or the gameplay class. We're going to go ahead and create that button list there so that we can actually interact with the buttons. So Let me just scroll up to our pipe gameplay. And in our pipe gameplay initialization method, we want to do this directly underneath our self.pieces. Right, so self.pieces dictionary. Directly under that, we're going to go with self.buttons. Right, and that's going to be equal to a list. And we're going to, with that list, we're going to go with call button. We need to pass it to self. We're going to pass it, the first word is going to be ready. That's going to be our first button that we're going to generate. And we need to pass it a, hang on, what was the, yes, a button width. It's going to be 110 for 110 pixels wide and 50 pixels high. The font size, we're going to set it at 30. The X position is going to be at 60. The Y position is going to be at 640. Right, so that's going to be our very first button. The second button we're going to include is going to be button. We're going to pass it self again. It's going to say new game. All right, and that button is going to be 200 wide, 50 pixels high. Font size will be 30. Screen width divided by 2, because we want the button to be in the middle of the screen. Screen, not width, screen height divided by 2. All right. We need to also, when we created those buttons, we need to go to our draw method. Where's our draw method? In our draw method, of course, sorry, just getting myself lost there. Let's go down to our draw method for piece and piece.values. Below the pieces, we're going to draw. Firstly, we're going to say, well, if self.buttons, so if there are any buttons in the buttons list, we're going to say, well, for button in self.buttons, button.draw. And we need to pass it the window. Okay, so we can run this now quickly. And we should have a button appearing on the screen. We've got the new game button and the ready button. But they don't do anything, and we can still click. They don't do anything because we're not calling anything on them. And also the new game is currently set to false. It should be, new game should be set to true. So self.newGame is now going to be set to true. The last thing we need to do is, how do we interact with those buttons? We need to go up to our main game class at the input level. So at the main game class, at the input level, if you went mouse button down, okay, over there we're going to say, well, for button in self.gameplay.buttons, right? If button.rect.collide point with pygame.mouse.getPos. So the mouse cursor, if we end up clicking on a button, we can say button.button action, which was the method we created. All right. All right, what we're going to go ahead now quickly, we've just included the button and the button actions. If we clicked on a button, let's just quickly run this and see where we are precisely. If I run this, okay, we have our new game button in the middle of the screen. We have the ready. If I click new game, we crash. Pipe gameplay object has no attribute reset. Oh, we still haven't built the reset method. Okay. All right, reset method. So in the gameplay, we need to build class pipe gameplay reset method. Pipe gameplay. Okay. Okay, in order to do this reset game method, we need to do a bit of refactoring. It's something I've been putting off for quite a while, because otherwise we're going to have to, every time we start a new game, we're going to have to basically, we need to change this, we need to change this, all of these items need to be reset all the way down to here, actually down to there, which is a lot of code that, it's duplicate if we go ahead and we rewrite that code one more time. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an init game method. We're going to do it directly underneath the initialize method. So we're going to say define an init game method. And in that init game method, forgive me, I'm going to copy paste or cut and paste quite a bit right now. So right underneath my self.cols.columns, right over there, we're going to call this self.init game method. Okay. What we want to do is we want to create, cut and paste the self.grid. Okay. Then we're going to go with our pieces list, a dictionary. Self.pieces is going to go into here as well. Our buttons list is going to go there too. Okay. Our self.start time is going to go in our init method too, because that needs to be reset to the beginning. I'm just going to go back up and tidy this up a little bit. All right. In our self.start time, just below this, there's 3 new things we're going to create quickly. It's going to help us later on, but we want to do them now because they do get referred in our next couple of methods. So we're going to self.time, our main game time. It's going to be a timer, self.start time. Okay. And self.time.activate. So the timer gets immediately activated. Self.time remain will be equal to 0. Okay. Then in our init game method, okay, so then these options stay there. They don't go anywhere. All right. However, below that, insert the start pieces. They are going to be, and next piece and current piece. This line of code gets cut. They're going to be included in this init game method. Okay, I'm just going to split that a little bit so we know where we are. All right. So if we can go ahead, let me just neaten this up. We can go ahead and actually run this code quickly. We should still have everything running correctly as we do. If we hit the new game button, we still crash because we still don't have a reset game method. But that's fine, we're going to go ahead and build that now. So now we have the init game. So basically when we do a reset game, okay, we're going to build that down here. Okay, game, we're going to start pieces, verify start, verify end. Just below the verify end, we're going to go with, we're going to define reset game method. Reset game, self.init game method. Self.init game. Straightforward. That's what we're going to do. When we initialize the game, so obviously when the game starts up, we're starting in a new game. So it's currently set that new game is set to true. These 2 buttons are in a list. This is the first item in the list. This is the second item in the list. When the new game starts, we need this new game button to disappear. So now, oh, there we go. So you see the init method is running. If we start a new game has started, and we can actually play through. However, the new game button remains on the screen, and we don't want that anymore. So our quick fix is we're just going to go to our self.buttons list, and we are just going to pop that item out of the list. It will just be popped out and gone. All right. Whilst in our reset game, there's 2 methods we can quickly create. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with self.check new game or new stage, right? And self.update time per new game, new stage. There's two methods we need to create quickly. They're not very big methods, but there's a couple of items without them. It's got to do with the timers themselves directly. So define check new game or new stage. Self, no arguments. Straightforward. If self.game over. So if the game over is set to true, right? Self.time remain must be reset to 0. Self.stage must be reset to 0. Self.start time is equal to 30,000 minus 1,000 multiplied by self.stage. I'll get into that later on when we build out the timer on the screen that reflects on the game board. If self.stage clear, right? So if we've managed to connect all the pipes and we're increasing the stage, self.stage is plus equals 1, and self.start time is equal to 30,000 minus 1,000 multiplied by self.stage. Okay, we do the same thing here. However, when it's game over, the self stage is set to 0, which means this here is 0 starting at 30,000 straightforward. The next method we need to create quickly is the define update time per new game, new stage. Okay, we're going to go with self.time.duration is equal to self.start time plus self.time remain. Okay, self.time is equal to self.start time plus self.time remain. Self.time remain is equal to 0. Self.start time is equal to self.time. And lastly, self.time.activate, right? And self.time.current time is equal to 0. I'm quickly going to go ahead and run this. So if we click the new game button, this button should disappear, the game should start. Alright, let's go. Let's try and see if we can make it to the end. No. Okay, that's fine. No, that doesn't help. Doesn't help. Doesn't help. That one helps. No. 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 Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. Yes. If we hit the ready button, it should work. It does. The water flows through. It should reach the end. We reach the end. Pipes complete. But then we should get a new game pop up again, which did not happen. So we need to go to our pieces, win state method. Where's our pieces? Win state. Okay, so let's go to our win state method within our pieces. There we go. So in our win state, self.game.stage clear is equal to true. Okay, if stage is set to true. Right. Okay, I know what happened there. Everything's working fine. The only problem is once we reach the win state, in our main gameplay, we're actually not running anything to handle the end of the stage. In order to deal with that, we're going to go to our gameplay class, which we are in. Right. We're going to go down to our update method. And there's quite a bit of code we need to put in here. So in our update method, the first thing we're going to do is, we're going to say, if self.new game set to true, we're just going to break out of this method. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to say, well, if self.time.active self.time.update. We need to update the timer always. The next one we're going to do is self.time is equal to self.start time divided by 1000 plus self.time.start time divided by 1000. Right? Minus self.time.current time divided by 1000. What we're doing there is actually that's our timer, how it reflects on the screen. That's what we're dealing with. That's why there's all this self.time, start time divided by 1000 divided by 1000, because we're working 30,000 is actually just 3 seconds. All right. Okay, we've got self.time.active. The next thing we need to check for is if self.time is less than or equal to 0, self.time.deactivate. Then we're going to check, well, if self.stage clear and length of self.buttons, the list, is less than 2, right? Self.buttons.append button, we're calling a new button. We're going to give it self, we're going to give it the words next stage. This is what we were looking for just now when we correctly linked up all of the pipes. A button should have popped up in the middle of the screen, which allowed us then to move on to the next stage. Okay. I'm not actually passing to this class when we created the main class. So in order to access the main class screen width, we want to go, because we want it in the middle of the screen, so we're going to go with game.screen width divided by 2. Remember, game is how we actually call the class at the bottom, how we create the actual game class when we run this code. Game.screen height divided by 2. Okay, so if we successfully connect up all the pipes, we should get a button that says next stage in the middle of the screen. If we do not do that, if instead it's self.gameOver and then self.buttons is less than 2, right? Self.buttons.append button self game over 250 30 game.sw divided by 2 game.screen height divided by 2. Right, so that's our buttons drawn. That's all of our buttons. I'm going to go ahead and run this code now. I believe we should be able to start a new game. Oof, this is a hard one. I'm going to hit ready, so we should get a game over state, which we don't. Why does the game over state not work? Okay, but let's try the win state. Let's go new game. That's not too bad. We should be able to get that one. Oh, damn it. Oh, there we go. Saved. I need some verticals. Where's the verticals? There's a vertical. Another vertical, please. Vertical. Come on. There's another vertical. It should get to 30 seconds, and then it should run. There we go. It runs itself. Why did we hit the game over stage? Interesting. And now the next stage is on the screen too. That's very interesting. What have we done wrong here? Right, so the first problem we have when we fail state, when we ran the game, is after we hit the first pipe after the starting piece. I'll just demonstrate it here for you quickly. As soon as I hit the end of the first pipe, the game over screen popped up. Okay, and the issue for that is when we go into our pipe pieces and we are calculating the flow direction. Yeah, it's calculating the, not flow direction. Calculating the flow direction for the next piece. So here, calculate next piece direction. At the end of our for loop here, our self.fail state is indented to the wrong level. It needs to be there. All right, so if we run this code now, we'll say new game. Oh, this is a very far one. Let's give it a try. Doubt we'll be able to finish it, but who knows? Let's see what we can get right here. Nope. No. Yes. No. Let's go with that one. Okay, sure. No, not that one. That one, sure. That one, yes. That one, yes. Cool. Now we just need that one. Okay, so it seems to be working correctly. The water is flowing through. When it hits the end here, we should then hit the win stage. Next stage. If we click next stage, it will reset and we can go again. That is fantastic because it's getting bloody late and I'm actually quite tired. So let's see if what happens if we fail, but I'm not getting any good pieces, so we are guaranteed to fail. Where are we now? Another one of those. That one. Hit the ready button and off the water goes. There it goes, there it goes. It hits the end. We should next stage. Great. There's like that. I'm going to hit the ready button. It should then game over. We hit the game over. The game starts over again. Great. Fantastic. What we're going to do, this is very close to the end of this series. The next video shouldn't be that long. However, we will then include some of the visual aspects of the game, like the timers, the score, things like that. And that should be the end of the series. If you've liked this video, if you've enjoyed this video so far, if you've enjoyed this series so far, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to continue. I've got 2 other projects that are already completed and just waiting for me to finish recording videos for this project so I can record videos for those projects. Been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers for now.